It's Monday, the 2nd of October 2017. It's a packed show. It's the Cats Whiskers podcast, and we're live. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Cats Whiskers podcast. My name is Jono Bullard. We've got a great show lined up for you tonight with no less than 14 interviews with members of the Panthers squad from the games night that took place last Thursday. So I'll be hearing from the likes of Matthew Gagnon, Jan Sauvé, Eric Lindhagen, Evan Mosey, David Clarke, Robert Lakovic, to name just a few. So 14 interviews on their way. We've got that split into 3 different sets. However, it's a AAA cast tonight. It's Adam, Andy and Ant. So it's welcome to Adam Reddish.
Good evening, everybody.
Andy Haywood.
Hello.
And Antoine Marie-Jeanne.
Thanks, Jono. Hello, everyone.
So we will kick off with Panthers against Belfast last Wednesday. But just to remind you that if you want to get in touch with us while we are on air this evening, you can do via Twitter. It's at Cats Whiskers TV. Would love to hear from you if you are listening to the show. So, back to last Wednesday, the 27th of September, an Elite League game at the NIC. Panthers taking on the Belfast Giants and coming away with a 5-4 regulation time victory. Panthers goals from Robert Lakovic, Evan Mosey, David Clarke, Raphael Bouzier and Robert Farmer. Giants scoring through Darcy Murphy, Sebastian Silvestre, Colin Shields and Brendan Connolly. I wasn't actually at the game because I was working. Andy, I believe you didn't make this game either. Nope. So, you'll hear a lot from Adam and Ant for this section. So we conceded very, very early on. I believe it was 1 minute 40 seconds when Belfast put the opening goal in. Adam, did that worry you at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Given the previous home performance as well against the Clan, I thought, crikey, here we go again. Could have been a hangover from that game. But, we got back into the game really quickly. I think, that sort of brushed away any of the fears that I had. I mean, even though Belfast opened the scoring, I thought we actually started the game at a really good tempo. We weren't behind for very long, and I think that was the sort of key thing really that helped us get the win. Because if Belfast had gone and got a second, then it would have really dampened the mood in the arena, and I think they might have gone away and skated to a win. But I was a little bit nervous when Belfast opened the scoring, but thankfully we weren't behind for too long.
Yeah, and it was very, very quickly put to rights with Robert Lakovic scoring. I think it was 50 seconds after Belfast had taken the lead, and that seemed to settle the nerves a bit, because then Panthers went on and took a 3-1 lead to the end of that period. So a really, really good performance by the Panthers in the first.
It was, yeah. Like Adam said, it was that their goal came sort of. It was like, oh my God, how has he found himself all alone at the back to put that in, and then we turned it up, and it almost woke the team up, almost to say, this one is not going to be easy. We need to pick it up a bit, the first goal was a big one. Capitalised on a couple of rebounds. Whistle did really well, but then the third one fell nicely to Lacko, and then the first we've got a comfortable lead.
So Panthers with a 3-1 lead going into the second, but then Belfast really came into it, and it was a real ding-dong battle for the rest of the game, with Panthers pulling away, Giants getting it back, and then at the end of the second period, Panthers managing to get the fifth goal, no scoring in the third period. So, Adam, a very entertaining game overall.
It was. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was the best league game at the NIC this season. I know it wasn't really benchmarked against much that had gone before, but I think by far and away it was certainly the most entertaining match I'd seen. And there's a really good ebb and flow to the game. Both teams were really going for it, and as defensive as they possibly could. There were quite a few mistakes being made. It wasn't the most technically perfect game of hockey you'll ever see, but I think the mistakes actually sort of contributed to the excitement levels, and both sides gave it a damn good go. And I think that the fans that were there certainly got the money's worth for that game. And yeah, I think really Panthers probably just deserved it. On the balance of play, I think we outshot Belfast, and it just seemed to me that we had the more sort of dominant periods of the game. I think we were on top, and we certainly made the most of the times we were around Jackson Whistle's net.
I mean, Ant, do you feel Panthers were worthy of the victory overall?
I thought we were the better team overall. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's not to say Belfast were rubbish, or we were by far and away superior. I just thought we had in us. We certainly, albeit at times in that second period, you're thinking, oh my God, how can we keep doing this? But the third period in itself, after all the fun, shall we say, that happened towards the end of the second period, the third period was comfortable for us. In fact, at times it seemed like we're on the power play all the time. The puck just seemed to be in the Belfast zone, for a long period. So good win, very, very good win based on the weekend Belfast had just had as well. So and you can't say much more. I mean, look at our record against them last year; it was awful. So I think we've already doubled the points tally against them. So let's hope it carries on.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, but Giants had come off a very, very good weekend with 2 victories over the Steelers. We'd not had the greatest weekends. We'd scraped a win over Guildford. We'd lost at home to Braehead. So this game was really, even at this early stage of the season, it was classed as a must-win. And you've got to give credit to the Panthers for actually coming out and getting the victory.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, we've touched upon the fact that Belfast had a very good weekend, the Saturday, Sunday before the Wednesday game. So they would have been confident coming in. They'd have certainly been riding them high on the back of a 4-point weekend. They certainly wouldn't have come in thinking this was going to be easy, but they certainly would have fancied their chances playing a team that, as we've said, we weren't so overly on form, should we say, at the weekend. There's been a lot of talk about our sort of domestic campaign performances and stuff, and whether we've still got perhaps one eye on the CHL game tomorrow and stuff. So it'd have been a really good time for Belfast to come in and play us, I think, with the differences of the momentum and the swings in that sense. But I think you're completely right. This is a team that we've not really seen, certainly for last season, probably the season before as well, really, that they sort of... There's a long way to go yet, and we'll see if this carries on. But currently, at the moment, there does seem to be like a desire to win, a real sort of, a chance to really go through the gears with this team. I know we'll talk about it a bit more, but I thought the Manchester game at the weekend, I thought that particularly at spells, there was times when we really could have stepped it up another couple of gears. And there seems to be that throughout the team, throughout the depth of the squad and the players. So it's a very good sign. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about it's an important game that we need to win and all that sort of stuff. And obviously, the credit has to go to the team for getting it. So yeah, it's a great 2 points for us. Belfast are going to be there or thereabouts, that's for sure. And 2 points away, 2 points away from them, and in our favour, is only a good thing. And like Anne touched upon, we had 1 point against them all last season. So to pick up 2 from the first game, we should be pretty happy, and hopefully we can kick on from there.
Adam.
Yeah, I think it was an important thing to note that we scored 5 goals against Belfast, and there was a good spread of goals, but no goals from Perlini and Scheller. And I think that that's quite encouraging, because we're starting to see goals, coming from all lines now, and that bodes well, doesn't it, to have depth in your scoring, down the lines, and I just thought it was a good all-round performance, and every line showed something a little bit different offensively. So long may that continue.
Who stood out on the Giants side? Because Sebastian Silvestre started the season very, very well for them. He's got a lot of points. Did he stand out, or did anyone else catch your eye from the Giants side, Ant?
Silvestre definitely, and Connolly as well. And on the flip side, I thought Blair Riley, who I picked out last week, I think, and banged on about him last year as being... He always seems to score against us. I don't think I heard him mentioned on the highlights at all, and I certainly didn't see him much all night. So, yeah, Silvestre looks quality. Connolly looks like a very good player. But I was very disappointed in Riley.
Yeah. Adam, anyone catch your eye for you from the Giants?
Well, it's hard to disagree with any of that analysis from Ant. I will say this, though. I've always been impressed with Matt Toe. Whenever I've seen him skate, he skates so hard. He skates for 60 minutes. He up and down, up and down, up and down. And, great assist on Belfast's opening goal. Good pass across the front of the net and tapped in at the back pipe. But, every time I see Matt Toe, I'm always impressed by his sort of like work ethic and the fact that he skates hard for 60 minutes regardless of whether Belfast are winning or losing.
Okay, one incident that did stand out from the game and got a lot of coverage on social media was the antics of Matthew Gagnon during the game, where he seemed to ask the entire Belfast bench if they wanted to dance, and only really coach Adam Keefe nearly took him up on it from what I could gather from what I read. So just very quickly, Adam and Ant, Adam, we'll start with you. What was your view of that situation?
Well, old habits die hard from Keefe. I think he would have loved to have had a pair of skates at that moment and maybe gone to centre ice with Gagnon and sorted it out there and then. But fair play to Gagnon. It's quite a brave move, offering a whole bench out. And I was a little bit surprised that none of the Giants actually took matters into their own hand and seemed to let Gagnon totally rule the home ice there. And that got the crowd into the game. We're already in the game, I think. There's a good atmosphere through that first and second period, but that certainly brought the crowd well into the game, and the atmosphere went up a notch or two.
Yeah, well, it got a bit chippy by that point. There were several altercations around Whistle's net. Martinelli seemed to be every stoppage he was there throwing glove punches and pushing and what have you, and I think Gagnon just had enough. And then when Martinelli didn't want to go, which I was actually surprised about because he's a big lad. He is. He towers above Gagnon. Gagnon, well, if you want to find out what he ate, then you better listen to this next bit coming up.
Yes. Beautifully segued into that, Ant. Beautifully. So we got our first raft of interviews, and the first person we are going to hear from is Matthew Gagnon, and we'll find out exactly what he did say to the Belfast bench on Wednesday night.
Interesting game last night against Belfast. I'm going to ask the question that probably everybody wants me to ask, and if you're allowed to say so, what exactly did you say to the Belfast bench?
Basically, I just sent an invite to anyone that would fight me. Okay. See if I could find a customer.
Does that include player Adam Keefe, who is now their coach?
I don't think it's technically possible to find a coach, but I was just trying to spark the guys for extra energy here.
I mean, we'll get to the serious stuff now. Obviously, CHL game coming up on Tuesday, but first, Manchester in the Cup on Saturday. We could do with a win on Saturday. How do you think the lads are feeling going into that game?
Manchester is doing pretty good. They have a good team this year. Didn't play them yet, and we're excited to see how we're going to perform against that team.
And then obviously Turku on Tuesday. Can we make history? Can we qualify from this group?
I believe so. We get a special group, and I guess we're just getting better from here, and it'll be fun to get qualified for the year rounds.
it'll be a fantastic achievement, and obviously we all wish you the best of luck. And just finally, how are you finding Nottingham? How are you settling in?
Yeah, I love Nottingham so far. It's a warm. It's a warm city. Like, people are nice, and the fans are unreal, and there's a lot of things to do around town. Love it.
We're chatting to Jan Sauve. Thank you very much for your time, first of all, Jan. How are you finding Nottingham?
So far, it's pretty good. It's a nice city. There's a lot to do and a lot to visit, and I'm having fun right now.
What surprised you the most in coming to Nottingham and being a part of the Nottingham Panthers?
The organisation is number one, and the caliber of the game is really good too, and all the guys are really good guys, and we're all friends now. We all know each other, so it's been pretty cool so far.
With the CHL being the massive success that it has been so far, how much of a surprise was that? Was the CHL billed to you in such a way that you expected, or have the Panthers overperformed versus what you thought was going to happen?
I don't think we overperformed. I think we just played our game simple. In the CHL, we came in as underdogs, and we worked into the system, and we had nothing to lose. And in our league games, I think we try a little bit too much, and we're getting away from our game plan. And I think we showed yesterday that it's getting better. We're getting back on track, and we're playing good now.
So back to CHL action next week. What do you think our prospects are against the Finnish team, home and away?
Well, I heard they're a really good team. I don't know much about the Finland League, but I kind of know they're a little bit more aggressive and defensive. But I'm sure we'll do well. We'll work hard to get the win, and we just need one win, I think, to go through to the next round. So we'll get prepared for that game, and we'll play it, and we'll get the win.
I'm delighted to be joined by Brett Perlini. Brett, welcome to Nottingham.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
How are you finding things so far?
It's been great. It's been a lot of fun. It's kind of a stroll down memory lane for me, coming back to England. A lot of familiar things that I've missed living in America these past 12 years. And it's been good. The team's been doing well, and we got a great group of guys, so I'm really enjoying it.
Good to hear. Obviously, we went to Guildford on Sunday, an old stomping ground of yourself. How did you find that? Did you remember much from your junior days?
Yeah, it was pretty cool, actually. It was like the rink hadn't changed a bit, and everybody was kind of not used to the ice, but except me, because obviously I played there for a long time, and yeah, it was a special place for me to play. My dad's jersey was retired there, and I never thought I'd play a pro game there, but it turned out that I did, and I tried to make the most of it, and it was nice getting that goal in the first period too.
And getting man of the match as well. Congratulations for that. Now, obviously, your dad was a pretty big part of Panthers history. He had a phenomenal scoring record before my time. I'm relying on one of our colleagues, Paul Baum, for this. So he's not going to be happy, apparently, until you eclipse his scoring record. Do you think that's achievable?
In one season, probably not. His numbers were crazy when he came over here. I think he was, he was coming straight out of the NHL and the American League, and the league was building up over here at the time. But he's happy to see me over here. He was really excited when I signed, and he's looking forward to getting over here and checking it out again.
With the Panthers' current super stopper, Mike Garnett. Mike, first of all, welcome to Nottingham, and how are you finding it?
Thank you. It's great.
Have you found anything interesting to do while you've been here?
Yes. I go on amazing bike rides on my super awesome electric bike, like I did today out to some nature preserve. That's my favorite thing to do when it's not raining.
How's the flying going?
Pretty good, although it's quite difficult to get airplane to rent around here due to really high demand. So I'm looking to buy one right now. I've got a couple that I'm looking at. So that might happen in the next week or so, or I might change my mind. Who knows?
So we'll get back to the hockey. So far, the CHL campaign has probably eclipsed everything that's happened so far. But we look to be getting back on track with last night's game. Would that sort of be how it would feel for yourself?
I feel like every game for us is kind of a crazy roller coaster at this point. So we're still kind of finding our way, and I think a lot of that is emotional, and that's something that we'll get better at as the year goes on. But I think we've far from peaked. We're definitely on the right track, but we're still quite emotional from period to period.
So you would say that there's more to come from the Panthers, and do you think we can do it on Tuesday?
I know we can play well, and we've played well against good teams. It's just a matter of the guys really committing to playing defense and blocking shots, and that's what it takes to beat good teams. So if that's our focus and that's our mentality, and we're not just worried about scoring a bunch of goals, then we have a chance.
We have a super backstopper this year in the shape of Sam Gospel. Sam, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me tonight. First of all, was the demise of the EPL, did that influence your decision to come to the Panthers, or was it something you might have considered anyway?
It was unexpected, the change in the leagues, and it definitely forced my hand, but I'm happy that I'm here now.
So you've not seen a massive amount of game time, being the backup, which is probably expected. It was nice to see you starting against Sheffield. How was that game for you?
It was great. No, we battled hard and just came up short at the end by a second, so it's not a big deal, and I think we put in a good performance.
Yeah. I would just like to say, to a man, we all said it was great to see you starting. We all thought that you were the right choice to start that game, and we thought you did really well. Just to throw a bit of praise in the middle of the questions for you. How do you think, generally speaking, domestically and CHL all included, how do you think it's going for the Panthers so far?
Great. It's really good. It's always a change when you have to go from the CHL back to Elite League. It's a different style of hockey that we're adjusting to, and we're getting on our feet now and getting going.
With Jordan Kelsall and Josh Tetlow, you've not seen an awful lot of game time, but I just want to ask you both how you're finding the experience of being part of the Nottingham Panthers organisation, and I'll come to you first, Josh.
Yeah, it's great. It's great being part of a more professional team, skating every day. You can already feel yourself developing. It's great being around a great group of guys as well. I'm loving it. So.
Great. Jordan, yourself?
Yeah, like Josh said, the guys are really good. They helped us settle in, and we're training every day with top end players who played big leagues around the world. So I could definitely got better already, and hope to do the same.
So you're finding that it's helping your game at your respective other teams as well, then? Yeah,
we train at a pretty high pace, so we go back there, and I think it just gives us we're one step ahead. When we go back to play our games in Swindon for me and Bracknell for Josh, we've seen the difference already, and it's helping a lot.
Would you agree with that, Josh?
Yeah, definitely. It means we can step into a sort of higher role when we go back down to the lower league and sort of play a better role in that team, so it definitely helps.
Yeah. Just want to have a quick nod to yourself. I think everybody's seen that fight from the weekend, so was it good to sort of get the mitts off and just get a tilt under your belt?
Yeah, it's good. I don't know, I don't really go looking for it, but I guess if it's there, why not? It's alright, I don't mind doing it, so yeah.
Thank you very much, boys. I'm looking forward to seeing more of you on the ice.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks to the first lot of the new players that we got to talk to on the games night. Don't forget, we've got 2 more sets of interviews coming up. But first, we move on to Saturday's game. Panthers taking on the Manchester Storm. And it was a much-needed cup win. Panthers coming away with a 3-2 win. Dan Spang, Evan Mosey, Jan Sauvé, the Panthers goal scorers, with Matt Becker and Dana scoring late on for the Manchester Storm. Now, Jono, you were at the game, I believe.
I was, yeah.
And you were actually there from the first minute as well.
I managed to make 3 full periods for a change.
Wow, hold that page.
Yeah, I did. Yes, and I was working Saturday as well, and still managed to make the start. It's a miracle.
Fantastic, and more as a miracle, though, you actually saw us win as well. So,
yes.
Do you want to give us a quick summary of how the game went?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. It was a good, close game. It's easy to see why Manchester are where they are. They're a very, very good side, very well drilled. I thought the first goal they scored, Matt Becker's goal, was absolutely beautifully worked. It was a fabulous goal. But I thought the Panthers worked very, very hard. I thought in the end 3-2 flattered Manchester a bit. I think Panthers could have and probably should have won by a lot more. However, excellent play, lots of hard work, and the thing that pleased me the most is we looked very, very confident and comfortable in defence. We protected Michael Garnett very, very well, and just did the simple things right. And it was one of the best performances I've seen this season, and it was very, very good to see. So yes, very happy with the game. Panthers played well. Manchester are a very good team. So all in all, it was a very, very good win.
Jono mentioned we protected Garnett well. Obviously, we started gospel against the Steelers in our previous cup game, Adam. Were you surprised that it wasn't gospel again, or did you expect it being it was our only game of the weekend?
Yeah, I can understand in like retrospect why Garnett got the nod to start between the posts for us, but I certainly thought before the game on Saturday, in the hours leading up to it, that Gospel might get the nod, because I think that maybe Gospel might have been more the Challenge Cup goalie, if that makes any sense. And Garnett had played a few nights before, but maybe we're trying to just increase Garnett's confidence a little bit, because he's had a couple of shaky moments, but. I think that on the last two performances that he's sort of like coming back out of that now, and and playing a lot more confidently. And the defence did protect him well on Saturday. I agree with that, and he had to pull off a couple of good saves, but I don't think he was heavily worked, and he certainly we didn't have to rely on him. To dig us out of any holes on Saturday. So it's encouraging to see that he's starting to play with a bit more confidence now. I'm sure Gospel will get his opportunities throughout the course of the season. He's a good netminder. I think he showed with his performance at Sheffield that he can be trusted, in the big games. And it is nice to know, although I don't like to see it happen, but if anything did happen to Garnett injury-wise, that perfectly good young British netminder to step in and cover for Garnett. So yeah, I'm sure he'll get his chances as the season progresses. But yeah, Garnett did all right on Saturday, and he's just had two solid games, which is good news for the Panthers.
Good stuff. Now, obviously, while we're sharing a bit of goalie love, Andy, we can't go away without mentioning Clemente's incident that caused a bit of controversy, I believe, on the night. When he pushed the net off to prevent what should have been an empty netter. What did you make of that?
Well, it was fantastically worked if you're a Manchester fan or you're Clement, because ultimately they got a penalty, which is the rules, and we didn't score on a power play. I don't think so. He's taken his chance and it's paid dividends. It's the most blatant bit of netminders cheating I've seen live since Rovnianek in Belfast, where he admittedly it wasn't as a shot was being taken, but he was. I remember being in Belfast. We lost the game 7-4, I believe, and at one stage in the game, while it was pretty one-sided to Belfast on the score sheet and in possession and territory, he was aggrieved with a potential man in the crease, or maybe he got touched or something like that. And I think it was. Going back, I have a feeling it was Boniface was the referee, and he just turned around and pushed the net off and shrugged his shoulders at Boniface as if to say, "What are you going to do? If you're not going to stop the game for me, then I'll make you stop it." And it's Clements was. As blatant as that. It was, it's on Twitter, it's on social media. I'm sure most people have seen it. It is what it is. He's, like I say, he's taken a chance. He will, he will undoubtedly say, probably in the public, that it was a bit of a slip and the net came off. But I'm sure behind closed doors, he would openly say, "You know what? I've stopped it by pushing the net off." So fair play to him. Ultimately, it's annoying as an opposition fan, but he's got away with it in the sense that he just got the 2-minute penalty, which somebody has to sit for him, and we couldn't punish him on the scoreboard, on the resulting power play. So fair play to him.
Fantastic. So I understand the Becker line looked quite tasty. So I'll ask all three of you. Is it that line in particular, or do Storm look like a team that belong at the top of the table at the moment?
Yeah.
Jono, you go first.
Yeah. I do think they belong there. They're a good side. I mean, there's been a lot of jokes made about Ryan Vinity during his coaching career, but the guy is an experienced coach. He's been coaching for 6-7 seasons now. And I think he is at a place where he's probably got less expectation on him. When you look at his coaching jobs previously, Sheffield, where he's going to be under a massive amount of pressure. Then you've got Braehead, where again he's expected to win the league every season because of the conference that they were in. I think now he's moved to Manchester, and I think the pressure's off him a little bit, and I think that'll do him good because he can build a team for that rink. That rink is pretty much the big blue tent with a stronger wall in all intents and purposes. And he's built a team for that rink. They are going to be a very difficult team to play this season, and they're top of the league, and they're on top of the league on merit. That Becker line, as you mentioned, is excellent, and we'll see if they can stand the pace. It's still only very early October, so we'll see if they can keep up there. But the signs are good. I think that they could possibly make a challenge this season.
Adam?
Yeah, echoing all the points that Jono's made there. I think that they're certainly well drilled, well coached, but then you'd expect any Finity side to be those sort of characteristics. A lot of people look at Matt Becker, who scores a hell of a lot of goals, but Mike Hammond's a good player as well. Seriously good player. I know that Clan have had some indifferent times of late, but last season I noticed Hammond, and I wasn't surprised at all that Finity took Becker and Hammond down to Manchester with him. But on the evidence of what I saw on Saturday, they're fairly tight at the back. Clemente, other than his shoving the net off its moorings antics, is a fairly solid netminder at the elite league level. So they've got all the ingredients and all the components to be a reasonably successful team. I mean, do I think they'll be still at the very top of the table come the end of the season? I don't, because ultimately I don't think they quite have the depth in the roster that the Panthers, the Sheffields, the Cardiffs and Belfast do. But I still think that, say, a top 5 or 6 finish for the Storm this year, and they'd probably see that as a good season for them.
So you think they'll make the playoffs?
I do think they'll make the playoffs because on any given night they've got the offense with Becker and Hammond to get them out of a hole. If they concede a few, they can also run up the score a bit and just be as potent at the other end of the ice. So yeah, I think they've got the sort of key tools that the club needs to make the playoffs, and I think it'd be a good achievement for them because they're playing a small rink. I know the crowds are fairly good, but I'm sure Finity will enjoy putting together a team and coaching a team that sort of plays out of that building because the atmosphere is probably to his liking. Finity was a bit of a high octane player himself, wasn't he? He is a bit of an all action sort of guy, and I'm sure he'll thrive off those sort of atmospheres that you get in the Manchester rink there at Altrincham.
Fantastic. And now, Andy, anything more you want to add to what those two have just said?
What I will say, just sort of slightly touching on what they've said, but sort of expanding on it a little bit more, is that if they are to be successful, a lot will ride on Becker and Hammond. They do have decent players throughout the team, but to be successful, they will need to rely on those two, putting up at least a point a game, probably a couple of points a game each, and obviously having decent netminding, which, to be fair, it does look like they're going to get with Clement. But obviously, I just think that, like Adam says, the depth of the other teams and the quality within the other teams will be the difference as to who finishes at the top. I don't think they've got that depth. But like I say, strange things have happened. But they will have to ride Becker and Hammond pretty heavily, in my opinion, to be successful in that sense.
Okay, unless anybody's got any more they want to say about that game, back to Jono.
Thank you very much, Ant. Great stuff. Just a few of the comments that we had before we get to some stats and the Player of the Week and the Player of the Month. So if you are voting on our Player of the Week poll, you can leave some comments on there. Just a few of the ones to pick out. Bouzier is the reason we have a decent fourth line and barely gets a mention. How do you feel about that? I mean, Andy, I really like Raphael Bouzier. I think that fourth line actually looks dangerous. It's not there as a holding line, I don't think. It actually looks quite a dangerous line, and I think he brings out the best in Ollie Betteridge and Robert Lakovic, and who have both been excellent so far this season. I mean, do you agree? Do you think it's a good fit?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And I do kind of agree with the statement that he is slightly overlooked because he's not overly flashy, because he's not playing with your Perlinis and your Shallers and your Phillips and stuff. It is quite easy to often overlook Boussier's, but he's one of these players that I'm yet to sort of watch a game and think, you know what, he's not been good tonight at all. And long may it continue, because at the end of the day, you need your fancy skills and you need your 30, 40 goal scorers a season type of players, but you need these type of grafting lower down the lines, physical checking. They're going to get into dirty areas, and I'm not saying that he's a direct like for like by any stretch, but at the moment he looks like he could be that sort of Matthew Myers player that we've not had really since Matthew Myers left.
Matthew Myers.
Yeah, well, that's exactly the point. It is a role that does get overlooked in that sense, because it's not necessarily a sexy role, or it's not necessarily a massively productive role in terms of points. But you need these players, and like I say, I'm yet to watch a game where I've come out of it and thought, you know what, Boussier's was not good tonight. And like I say, long may it continue, because that fourth line is chipping in with goals every now and then. But I just think that they're so sound, they're so responsible on the ice at both ends. They're cycling the puck well. They're keeping it in the zone for extended periods of time and making defences turn around, which is the last thing they want to do. By the same token, in our own end of the ice, they're looking really responsible and stuff. So it is good, and I do think that there's a chance that once this season comes to an end, there's a fair chance that Boussier's might win one of them sort of the team spirit awards type awards that the players sort of give out amongst themselves, because they appreciate the role that type of player does an awful lot more than perhaps 5,000 people in the stands.
Some other comments that we've had through. Good to see Michael Garnett turning two solid performances versus Giants and Storm. Farmer's effort is so noticeable, and Evan Mosey being restored to a forward berth has made a big positive difference. Another comment about that: Mosey as forward equals magic. Enough said. I mean, Ant, do you think Mosey return to the forward lines has made a massive difference?
I think going forward, we certainly missed his pace and the explosiveness that can generate. And I think Lindhagen's a much more steadying influence, and he's a fantastic skater as well. Anyway, and obviously, now we're back to full complement of. I don't know how much game time he got on Saturday, but having everybody back, that's going to be very, very key for us. And just touching on Boussier, he's already become one of my favourite players. I think he's, I can't really say more than what Andy's already said. I just think he's a very, very, very good player. And I think people mentioning the fourth line, but I've not really noticed any of our lines playing less or more than any of the others. So we've got 4 really balanced, equal lines at the moment. Each of them playing really, really well. It's good to see.
Is that one for you, Adam? The Phillips line is playing unreal at the moment. 3 quality players, and I think we may see very, very shortly. But Zach Phillips, 2 excellent games.
Yeah, he's a quality player. You know, he's one of these guys that looks like he's got an extra half second of time around him whenever he's got the puck on the end of his stick. You know, definitely a playmaker. So, you know, maybe not going to weigh in with a ton of goals when the season's done, but you know, his vision and his ability to bring other people in, you know, his line mates. You'd love to be a forward and play on a line with Zach Phillips, because you'll get fed some quality passes, and you know, gives you plenty of opportunities to light the lamp and score plenty of goals over the season.
Final comment for now. Loved the Clanchester Chicken fans. Always have a great bunch. So something nice to end on there. A few statistics that we've got from the weekend that Tina pulled together very kindly for us. So shots on goal, 34 for and 43 against on Wednesday. On Saturday, 40 shots for and 31 against. Points, Farmer with 1+1 and Bouzier with 1+1 on Wednesday were our top point scorers. Phillips also weighing in with 2 assists. In the cup game on Saturday, Evan Mosey top point scorer with 1+2, and then 6 players all with a point apiece. For September, the top point scorers in the league, Farmer 3+4. And in the cup, it's a joint. Mukshantev had 1+2, Mosey 1+2, and Josh Schaller with 3 assists. Overall, Farmer with 4+4 is our top point scorer from September. So a few stats for you there. Now we are moving on to Player of the Week, and also our first Player of the Month, which is for September. However, we will start with Player of the Week. And in third place is Matthew Gagnon. No real surprise after his antics on Wednesday night, I don't think. In second place, Zach Phillips, and he is pipped to first place by Evan Mosey, who had an excellent game on Saturday night as well. So congratulations to Evan Mosey, who is the Cat's Whiskers Panthers Player of the Week for this week, as voted for by you. However, it is now time for our first Player of the Month, and this is a combination of all the votes that you put in over the month of September to get an overall Player of the Month. So, in third place is Brett Perlini. Second place is Robert Farmer. And in first place, our first Player of the Month for September, is Alexander Mukshantev, a well-deserved Player of the Month. From the stats that we've had, Mukshantev, Farmer and Perlini all averaged over 8.25 out of 10 from your votes over the month. And I think, guys, that's well-deserved. They've all 3 of them have been excellent over September.
Yeah, completely agree. Obviously, the Player of the Month thing could get, realistically, I think, did he win 2 or 3 weeks on the trot?
He won 2 weeks on the trot, and then the third week he was in second place.
Yeah, so he's certainly proved that he's better than that sort of fourth line trial spot that he was given at the start of the season. So yeah, fantastic. He's been very good value for what we've got, and hopefully we get to see another one of those goals like he scored against Burn tomorrow night.
Can I just ask a question of you guys there? Because obviously Corey has been a fourth liner when he came in, and the plan was to see how he could fit in and whether he'd move up. Do you think that's led to people looking at him a bit more and voting for him higher because they weren't expecting much?
No, I purely think it's been on his performances, because I think he's been outstanding. Most games I've seen,
he's been fantastic.
He's been superb.
is such an exciting player to watch, and he's unpredictable. You just don't know what he's going to do next. He probably doesn't know what he's going to do next, but it makes it very exciting to watch him, when he's rampaging around out on the ice.
Just thinking about it, remember, who was it that used to play for Derby? Paolo Wanchop?
Yes.
That sort of player, where you just like, you like you say, you just don't know what he's going to do from now until next, but then he can just pull up some ridiculous move and score past Peter Schmeichel. But but
it was years ago, Ant. Let it go. You'll start going never forgive, never forget in a minute.
We'll talk about European Cups.
Oh, the Leicester bandwagon jumper chips in. There we go. Anyway, enough of football. But I think the thing for me with Mokshan, Stev, is he was an unknown quantity. Nobody knew anything about him, and I think he's turned up and he's come to play, and he is an outstanding player. I don't think we'll see him on the fourth line again this season. I think he's definitely cemented his place in the top two lines. He's that good a player, and I think he'll stay there. And I think he's been a very, very welcome surprise, because I honestly think that nobody knew what to expect, and he has been incredible for the entire time he's been here. He's an absolutely hugely skilled player.
Oh, and I tell you what, as well as the skill.
Sorry, Adam. Yeah.
I was going to say, as well as the skill, which he's clearly got in bucket loads, he's not afraid to mix it a bit. He's not afraid to go into the corners and take the body, or get bounced around out there. So, which is quite surprising when you look at him. I know he's quite tall, but he's quite a slender, gangly sort of player, isn't he? And you think that he might duck away or shy away from any sort of confrontation or physicality out on the ice, but he loves it. He seems to thrive on it, and add that to the skill that he's got, and I think we've got ourselves a real gem there.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we're going to move on to our second set of interviews, and these are some of the returning imports who are come back to the Panthers. And first of all, we're going to hear from Dan Spang.
Panthers returnee, Dan Spang. Dan, welcome back to Nottingham. How's the new lot settling in so far? Have you been able to show him any of your secrets that you found out last year?
I mean, we obviously have a lot of new players on the team this year, and everyone seems to be gelling quickly, as you can see by our on-ice performance. Even in our losses, we've done really well and created a lot of chances, so everything's looking pretty good so far to start the year.
Obviously, two big games coming up at the weekend. Manchester Storm in the Cup. They're playing pretty well this season, Manchester. Have they surprised anybody, or is it, looking at their roster, you're thinking, they could challenge?
Just looking at their roster, you know that they have some pretty good players and some guys with some good experience back in North America. Like any other team we play for the first time in the year, it's kind of, we got to go in, we got to see it for ourselves and see how we match up against them.
And obviously the big game on Tuesday. Can Panthers make history? Can we qualify for the next round of the Champions League?
We'll find out. TPS has a really good team. I see in their league so far. They haven't lost yet in regulation, so they're doing pretty well. I think they're at the top of the table. So we'll see how it goes. I played a few years in Finland. I know they're a pretty good organization, and we're going to have to bring our best.
So have you been able to give the lads any sort of hints about what we're likely to face?
What's a good thing is I assume they're probably going to play similar to Bern, because the Bern coaching staff was all Finnish and they play a similar style, so hopefully it's a bit similar to that game and there's no surprises really when we see them.
I couldn't let a Panthers event go by without speaking to Eric Lindhagen. So, Eric, thank you very much for talking to me tonight. First question I want to ask you, how are you finding this team compared to last year's team?
We're a bit faster and better trained this year, so I would say that's the difference compared to teams from last year to this year.
You've obviously retained the utility aspect of your game, because already we've seen you switching from forward to defence. How is that working for you?
It's always tough, like the first couple of games when you go back playing D, but I think I've done it pretty well so far, and I'm playing wherever Corey wants me to play, so yeah.
So, easy decision to come back?
Yeah, very easy. I enjoyed myself last year and like it here, so
it's very easy coming back.
So I have managed to pin down the road runner that is Evan Mosey for a few words. Evan, welcome back first of all. And firstly, how much are Mum and Dad hammering the air miles already?
Well, first off, it's glad to be back. It's something I was really looking forward to. And second of all, my parents are definitely hammering the air miles. They've been out twice already. And I think they're coming back out in October. So that would be 3 times in like 3 months, so I think they're enjoying it because they get to go on a little bit of a holiday every once in a while, so it's good for them.
Yeah, and of course you've got the family not too far north of here as well that they go up and visit. How is the second time comparing so far to the first?
It's pretty similar. It's still the same excitement as from the first time that I signed here, and especially starting out the season with the success we've had so far in the CHL is a little bit different than the last time I was here for the CHL, because I think we won the one game against Hamburg, and that was the only close game. So this year to be able to come and compete in the CHL was one of the reasons why I wanted to come back. But and I would have never in my entire life imagined that we could have been doing this good in the CHL. So it's been a great start to the season.
So next week, do you think we can do it? We need the one win. Can we do it?
Obviously, we've proved a lot of people wrong in the CHL this year by winning against Bern and the 2 games against the Czech team. So obviously, I'm going to say we can do whatever we want, and I think it would be huge to be able to win and maybe make it to the next round, which would be, as much as it is exciting, extremely frightening, because you're going to be going against some of the top teams in Europe. So it'll be something really exciting to look forward to.
Already so far, we've seen a bit of a switcheroo between yourself and Eric Lindhagen. So are you enjoying forward better than you enjoyed defence?
Yeah, it's to be honest, it doesn't really bother me. Like, obviously, I'd rather play forward, but defense at the same time is I add a little bit of a mix to defense, just being able to jump up in the rush and stuff. So to me, it's not really a big deal what I play, as long as the team's successful and the team wins. It doesn't really bother me.
Thank you very much to Dan Spang, Evan Mosey and Jan Sauvé there. And we will.
I mean Eric
Lindhagen. You know what? I'm looking at the agenda right here, and I'm reading the goals for Panthers against Manchester. I'm not reading the right thing. I'm sorry about that, Eric. Right. Quickly, I'll move on. There is one set of interviews to come from all of our returning Brits. That will be a little later on. Mentioned the Nottingham Lions, another 2-game doubleheader this weekend. Saturday saw them lose 6-2 away to Solway Sharks in Dumfries. On Sunday, a 3-1 loss at home to the Blackburn Hawks. However, the Lions were dealt a blow when Warren Tate left the club earlier in the week to move to Telford Tigers. Talking to Telford Tigers, they are reeling themselves after former Panther Jonathan Weaver was given an 11-game ban after an incident in a game against Swindon Wildcats that left forward Tom Rutkis with a broken jaw. I mean, guys, I was shocked when I saw this because it seems totally out of character for Jonathan Weaver. I was amazed when I saw that he got an 11-game ban, but 11 games, that is some statement from the EIHL.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, there's not a lot out there that I've seen regarding the incident, but it can't be too good. Realistically, reading the is it the Swindon local paper, I think it is. There's talk of police being involved and there's. Was it surgery or something that Rutkis has had?
He's had to have surgery, yes, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good, but like you say, John, it did sort of struggle a bit odd regarding it, because it's not something that we've ever really been accustomed to seeing from Jonathan Weaver. So, I hope obviously things get sorted out pretty sharpish and obviously, the right outcome is decided upon. But yeah, not the greatest of news for Weaver there.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to the Elite League and the results from the weekend. On Saturday, a few cup matches. So in the cup it was Belfast Giants 4 and Edinburgh Capitals 6. Excellent result for the Caps. MK Lightning 3, Guildford Flames 2, Five Flyers 5, Dundee Stars 1. In the league it was the Cardiff Devils 5, Braehead Clan 0 and the Sheffield Steelers 5, Coventry Blaze 2. On Sunday in the cup, Edinburgh Capitals 3, Five Flyers 7. So an excellent weekend for Fife with 4 points. In the league, Blaze 5, Sheffield Steelers 1, Manchester Storm 2, Belfast Giants 1, Guildford Flames 8, Braehead Clan 5, Dundee Stars 5, MK Lightning 1. Those results mean that the Capitals can now not qualify for the quarterfinals of the Challenge Cup. But perhaps one of the stories of the weekend, with their loss to Panthers last Wednesday, Giants are now 0 for 3 after doing the double over at Sheffield the previous weekend. And that's quite a surprise. After doing so well, you thought they'd be quite buoyed for those 3 games, but losing all 3, that's not looking good for the Giants.
No, I mean, I don't know if they were missing players or what have you. I know Dixon played Saturday against the Caps, but other than that, I've not heard any noise coming out about losing like 3-4 imports or through injury and what have you. So interesting times if you're a Giants fan, but like I say, it's been an interesting start to the season, and everybody seems to be beating everybody else. Yeah.
I mean, do we feel the league is much closer in terms of quality? Because I must admit, I've looked at the results seem to be all over the place to start the season, which can only be good for the competition within the league. I mean, Andy, there's some bizarre results about.
Yeah, there are on the face of it, but having witnessed some of the teams involved that you would say are in this sort of bizarre category. Having witnessed some of them, it's not bizarre in the slightest. I mean, we've mentioned about Manchester being good value for being top of the league. Obviously, we've seen Guildford both home and away, and they've kept it very close both times against us. And the Clan have beaten us at home. Coventry certainly weren't a walkover. So it does seem to me like there is, and it might just be because it's early doors and teams are feeling each other out and teams are trying to get on that, strong start. But there does seem to be a genuine increase in sort of competitiveness and quality amongst the teams, which is only great for the league, because ultimately it's not, you're not getting. You're not getting really big humpins or tonkins and stuff. I mean, you are on the night, perhaps, but over the course of the season and in some cases over the course of the weekend. I mean, with the Sheffield results this weekend, where they beat Coventry on Saturday and then lost, quite comfortably on the Sunday. It's nice to see. It's really competitive, and it makes it exciting. And there are no easy things. It's always been sort of a cliche that fans and coaches have said, because it's that sort of lip service and paper talk that they have to say. But on the face of it, looking at the season so far, there really isn't.
Yeah, that Sheffield win and the loss. After the loss in Coventry, Paul Thompson said no excuses. Coventry were the best team from minute 1 to minute 60, and then gave a couple of excuses later on in the interview about his players being banged up and not giving enough and blah de blah.
The chemistry
not being there. Well, who recruited them? You have to say, I was quite surprised with that result in Coventry at the Sky Dome. And Steelers, although they're second in the league, they're only a point behind Manchester. But I had a quick look at Steel Talk earlier today, and there's like a 4 or 5 page thread all calling for Paul Thompson's head.
I mean, and bear in mind that Panthers were booed off the ice after losing to Braehead. There's a lot of early season angst, shall we say? I think across the board. I know looking at social media, this past couple of days or so, I know you from a Bridge Boys have been sort of talking about people that are seemingly incredibly angsty about this team when it's still early days and there's still a lot of hockey to be played. So at the end of the day, with regards to Paul Thompson, whether you like him or not, he's a proven coach in this league and he's got bags of experience. And if anyone's going to be able to turn it round, you would hazard a guess that it would probably be him. So, yes, I'm sure that as a Sheffield fan, you're probably disheartened with the result on Sunday. But you're second in the league. You're a point off the top. What is it? 5 games, 6 games into the season now. There's still so much hockey to be played. Don't worry about it just yet.
MK as well, getting a good win against the Guildford Flames on Saturday night in the Cup, then travelling to Dundee and losing 5-1. I mean, I must admit that was a surprising result because MK have been good value in the early season, Adam.
They have. They've had a really good start to their Elite League campaign in the Challenge Cup and the league. So, I noticed that result as well, and I was a little bit surprised by it. I thought MK might have put up a bit more of a showing than they did up in Dundee. I haven't seen Dundee yet personally, so I'm only really going off what I've read on the internet and off forums and Twitter, etc. But I don't think Stars are probably one of the bigger budget teams in the league. So, I don't know the circumstances or the how the game went, as it were. Whether MK ran into problems and Dundee were quite good on the power play or something like that. But I suppose it goes back to the point you were making a minute or two ago about any team being able to beat any other team on the night, and in some ways that's good. You don't like to see your own team lose too much, but when you look across the league as a whole, it is good to see that. I think the disparity between the top team and the bottom league is probably smaller now than it has been for many, many years from what I can remember. So it is good that some of the smaller teams are getting in the bigger teams' faces. I know Milton Keynes probably wouldn't be classed as a bigger team, but they have had a good start. So fair play to Dundee. It was a good win that they pulled out yesterday.
Okay, we're going to move on to our final set of interviews that was conducted on Thursday night at the Games Night at Shooters Bar. We will hear from Ollie Betteridge, Robert Lakovic and David Clarke, but first let's hear from the captain, Stevie Lee.
I'm joined by team captain this year, Stevie Lee. Stevie, congratulations on the C. How are you finding it?
It's fun. It's definitely, I'm enjoying it. It's a great set of guys and it's an honour of mine. I'm really, really happy with it.
Obviously Clarke on the team. Has he had any advice for you over the close season and going through?
Well, Clarke has been unreal ever since I got here 9 years ago. He's kind of took me under his wing and showed me certain things, how to act, how to be a professional. And if I'm anywhere near as good a captain as he is, then I'll be happy.
Well, things are going pretty well so far this season. Obviously, we've made a fantastic start in the CHL. Good start in the league as well. Manchester in the Cup on Saturday. They've had a really good start as well this season. Have they surprised anybody?
They're playing well right now, and it's obviously a tough rink to get points out of. Going into Manchester and actually winning is going to be a very, very tough task. I mean, playing at home, we should be okay. It'll be a good game. It'll be physical, and hopefully we get 2 points.
Tuesday night, TPS Turku. Can we make history again?
I hope so, yes. We're looking at this weekend first, obviously, but coming into next week, I know for a fact everybody's going to be excited, and we got a team that wants to make that next step in the history as well. So.
I mean, obviously we were the first British team to play in the CHL. You were our top point scorer at one point, wearing that top point scorer jersey. Have you had any advice for the new guys on how it was, or is things completely different now to where it was, 3 years ago?
Well, I think the first time it was new to the club, it was new to every one of us, and I think a lot of guys have played in it throughout their careers as well, at different teams in Europe. So I think it was just a case of once we settled in playing that style of hockey, that speed of hockey, everything just started to snowball. We started to build some confidence, and you could see that on the ice.
It's good stuff. So the new lot, anybody in particular that's a bit of a character?
Oh, there's plenty of characters in that room. I'm not going to name any names.
I've managed to grab a word with player coach David Clarke, though, David, 700 points. Did you think that you were going to be talking about that sort of milestone at the beginning of your career?
Well, not in Nottingham, no. So it's quite a while ago I came, and just wanted to just establish yourself as part of the team and contribute. So yeah, it's been quite a long time now, and yeah, nice to have contributed that many points. But more importantly, it's the championships that we've won here have been a lot more enjoyable than personal accolades.
Has the transition to player coach made you see the game differently?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like my role's obviously slightly changed as well, because your players are brought in to be in those key roles at key times, and obviously I'm there to support Corey and support the team throughout the game, and yeah, it changes, and you have to adapt as well. You can't just be single-minded, just worried about yourself. You've got a lot more to worry about out there. So yeah, definitely.
So, former captain to captain, have you been giving Stevie Lee any pointers in terms of being the captain of the Nottingham Panthers?
I think to be a good captain, you have to be yourself. I don't think you obviously pick up things from different leaders that you've played under or been around throughout your career. But I think Stevie's always been somebody that's carried himself the right way, been very professional about the way he goes about his business, and has always commanded the respect of his peers. And it's kind of a natural progression for Stevie. So yeah, he's been doing a great job. He's really comfortable in there, and it's nice to see it start so often.
I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Robert Lakovic. Lako, one of the senior pros in this team now.
Yeah.
How's it like to be looked upon as an old man of the team?
Yeah, it's a bit weird, not what I'm used to, obviously. Always been the young guy, but it's quite cool. It's a bit different, but it's a good experience.
And obviously we've got quite a lot of new imports and a few new Brits this year. How has that affected your game at all? Is there a more competition for places now with the likes of Jordan and Josh as part of the squad?
Yeah, of course. It's always good to have the young guys coming in, and they're always hungry. And it creates a bit of competition for places, and it pushes everyone, and I think it's important to get the best out of your team that way. So yeah.
And moving on to obviously the big game on Tuesday, we won't overlook Manchester. They're top of the league for a reason, but obviously the one people want to know about is the game on Tuesday. We have the chance to make history again. Yeah. Can we do it?
Yeah, of course. I think we showed against Bern that we're a good quality team, and on our day, I think we can, if we put in the right performance, yeah, we can do it.
And will we see any more Lacko magic like we did against Hamburg?
Fingers crossed, hopefully.
Bar with Ollie Betteridge. Ollie, thanks for taking the time to speak to us. Obviously, the big highlights so far of the Caesars campaign for a lot of fans has been the CHL campaign. How have you found it stepping up to the likes of Bern and Mountfield so far?
Oh, it's been an unbelievable experience. We did it, I think it was like 4 years ago now. To get as far as we have done at the moment and beat the likes of Bern in our own barn and Mountfield home and away, it has been an unbelievable experience. And we'll play next Tuesday, and hopefully we can keep that rolling and be the first team to qualify into the next round.
Do you fancy your chances on Tuesday? Do you think we can do it?
I feel like we can, definitely, yeah. I feel like we're going all right. Like, momentum, get the momentum going in the game, play the way we know we can, and play the way we have been previously in the CHL. I think we're a high chance of us proceeding to the next round.
Brilliant. And how are the new lads settling in? Have you shown them the sights and smells of Nottingham so far?
Yeah, the group we've got this year are unbelievable. Everyone's pretty young, thirsty, hungry. Everyone wants to win. That's our main goal. And can't say anything better about the guys Corey's brought in. So hopefully we have a really good campaign and finish with a really good year.
And finally, any message for the Panthers fans for the upcoming couple of games?
Just keep doing what you're doing. Thank you ever so much for the support. We really appreciate it. And thanks again.
Many thanks to the players for taking the time to speak to us on Thursday night. Also, many thanks to Ant and Tina for conducting the interviews. Ant, you was there at Shooter's Bar. How was it?
It was a decent event, a good turnout. Nice to have a different venue for these sort of things as well. The staff were really, really good. Callum, bless him, worked his backside off. He was basically running around, dragging players left, right and centre to take part in all the various activities that they've got up. Something new, something different. Really enjoyed it, and I'd personally like to say thanks to Callum for looking after myself and Tina on the night, and to all the players who chatted to us for the interviews and off mic as well. It was a really good event.
And also want to say, on behalf of the podcast, a massive thank you to Nottingham Panthers for allowing us the access to the players at the event. It is very, very much appreciated by us all. Okay, you probably realise that tomorrow is a massive, massive game in the history of the Nottingham Panthers. The Champions Hockey League game against TPS Turku of Finland. It's a 7 p.m. face-off at the NIC. 7 p.m, not 7:30. This is due to television. So, I'll say it again, 7 p.m. face-off at the NIC. Now, a few stats for you about our opponents. TPS Turku haven't lost in regulation time in the Liga this season. They've had 6 regulation wins, 1 win in OT and 3 overtime losses. On Saturday, they lost to our previous Champions Hockey League Finnish opponents, Lukorama, 2-1 in overtime. In the CHL, though, they have lost both their away games so far, 5-1 in Mountfield and 4-0 in Bern. In fact, Panthers are the only team in the group to have an away win so far in this group. So they are 2-0 at home against Bern and Mountfield, both 3-1 victories. So clearly, tomorrow's game, guys, is our best chance of a victory. And I suppose the question is, can we do it? Andy?
Yeah, I completely agree that tomorrow is our best chance. I think ultimately we hold all the cards, looking at the table and looking at the games. If we win tomorrow, then that's it. It's all done. Can we do it? I don't see why not. I think realistically, teams have been slightly complacent with us, perhaps, and obviously we've been the unknown sort of quantity as such within our group and within the whole tournament. Probably ourselves and Cardiff have very much been, the underdogs, and obviously with us qualifying the way we did, then obviously we were also the lower seeds. So I think teams have slightly overlooked us, and that's played to our advantage. And obviously, it's a home game. It's against a very good team from a very good league. It's certainly not going to be, like a standard elite league game where, realistically we should be expecting to win our home games, and going into most home games feeling relatively confident of winning comfortably. But it is, the magnitude, the spectacle, the chance that this team has got to do something, truly quite magical, from a Panthers and from a league perspective. Stranger things have happened, and I think that we will go all out tomorrow night. We didn't play on Sunday because of this game. And I think that deep down we probably know that this is our best chance. There's nothing to say we won't or we can't win away from home. But realistically, if we are going to go through from this group, I think tomorrow is our big opportunity. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm incredibly excited for it, and hopefully we get a decent crowd in, because. Let's be brutally honest, if we do win tomorrow, certainly in my time, I don't know about some of the others, but it will be the biggest result that I've ever seen.
Well, I'll ask you a question then. Well, I won't ask you, Andy, because you've answered it, but at Mr. Pack75 on Twitter, he sent a question to us earlier, and he asked, I think tomorrow's game is possibly the biggest in the club's history. What do you guys think? Andy, you've already answered that, so Adam?
Yeah, I think there's a case to be had to say that it is probably the biggest game in the club's history. If we win, then it's absolutely uncharted territory for us. And I mean, what an achievement it'd be to qualify out of this group when, realistically, when the groups were drawn and the teams were picked, who would have given us even the remotest chance of getting out of the group? I think, a lot of the fans, from looking at social media, were, maybe identifying a single win. To make it worthwhile being in the group and competition. So, going into the last pair of games with a really good statistical chance of qualifying out of it is incredible, and I do think that it would be a seismic sort of achievement from the Panthers. Totally almost off the map in terms of UK ice hockey and what we're doing in a European competition. It's fantastic. I mean, obviously, we need to not get carried away with ourselves, and I'm sure that Corey's probably drilled that into the players good and proper in training these last 2 or 3 days since the last game against Manchester. We just need to be calm about it. I don't know whether we will get it all guns blazing right from the first puck drop tomorrow. I think we might be a bit more careful and a bit more methodical and just sort of like be a bit cat and mouse. But I guess it depends on how Turku start the game. If they come out all guns blazing, then we're going to have to fight fire with fire. But I mean, I look at it this way. Mountfield beat Turku 5-1 in the Czech Republic. I think we've certainly looked a better side than Mountfield in the games that we've played against them in this group competition of the CHL. So looking at it using that sort of metric, then we've certainly got every chance of getting that regulation win tomorrow that would see us into the next round of the competition.
I mean, the way I see it is we've beaten the 4th seeds in the whole competition, and yes, we are still the underdogs tomorrow. There's no doubt about that. We are still all said and done the 32nd seeds out of 32. However, we have nothing to fear, and I think we heard that in the player interviews when they were asked about this game. There's nothing for them to fear. They all sound quite confident, which is brilliant. And why shouldn't they be confident after the results that they've already had? We're top of the group, so we have an opportunity. We stand on the verge of history once again. I mean, and to get out of this group and get into the last 16 will be an absolutely phenomenal achievement.
It's certainly our biggest game since the 15th of March 2013. And it's got that sort of feel about it for me. I can remember landing in Belfast on that Friday and heading to Spoons for breakfast and chatting with some of the Panthers fans, and everybody was talking about, do you think we can do it? Do you think we can do it? And I said then, if we are going to do it, we're going to do it tonight. And that's how I feel. I don't think we'll get anything in Finland unless we're already through, of course. And TPS have got nothing to play for. But like you touched on with those player interviews, the Dan Spang in particular, he has experience of playing in Finland, and by going what he was talking about, he's been keeping an eye on what's going on. So I don't think we're going to go in that game completely clueless. I think we kind of expecting TPS to come out and be an aggressive team on the forecheck. But if we can play our game, like the players have said, if we carry on, stick to our systems, play our game, don't give up any daft turnovers in our own zone and what have you. All it takes is a couple of lucky bounces, and we're looking at history once again. I am absolutely buzzing. I cannot wait.
I mean, Andy, sorry.
I was going to say there are a couple of things regarding the game that I would like to sort of say is that I think special teams will be key. I think one of the things that obviously has been much discussed recently with Panthers is that they haven't been overly great, but in the CHL it's been quite good, I believe. Yes. But obviously, we don't want to run, fall foul of the officiating and the referees. So obviously, we need to stay out of the penalty box tomorrow because they're going to be quick, they're going to be well drilled, and they're going to be very good. And the other thing as well is the reason why I think this is the biggest game in our history is because. And don't get me wrong, it's not an arrogance thing, and it's certainly the year we won the league, and I think that's the achievement, but in Panthers history is that league win. But I just feel that this game is more significant than the Belfast one because it kind of. it kind of felt like it was a foregone conclusion in the sense that I didn't think we were not going to win the league.
Yeah, because at that point, I think we had four games to get 2 points to win the league. So,
yeah, if we lost those games in Belfast, I still think we had the quality and the experience in that team that we would have still won the league. Which is why I think deep down that this game is bigger than those Belfast games. But I think the outcome, as it were, I still think the league is more significant achievement for my own personal taste. Because obviously the whole monkey off the back and that kind of thing. So, but don't get me wrong. If we make it out of a Champions League group, it would be mind blowing. It truly would be. I mean, it's really difficult to try and put into words to people that follow the sport themselves how big an achievement it is. But to try and explain to people like that I work with or friends that I went to school with and stuff, it's really difficult to sort of try and put it into perspective just how ridiculous a situation we're in at the moment. We're top of the CHL group with 2 games to go, and we've got 1 home game tomorrow. So try and get down if you can.
Yeah,
get down, pull out all the stops, and get there, because this really could be one of the most special nights in British ice hockey history.
And also
in Nottingham,
there's massive discounts as well. The cheapest adult ticket, is £10 tomorrow, so just a tenner to get down and see possibly history being made. So get yourself, if you can, get yourself down to the NIC, make it a fortress, make it a fantastic atmosphere. That team, for what they've achieved in the CHL, deserves a full house tomorrow night. So get down there if you can.
I will say, win or lose, I phenomenal performance from the Panthers in the CHL this year. I mean, we could get spanked tomorrow and get spanked in Finland, and yes, I will be devastated. I will be very upset because I don't like losing. I'm a bad loser. I'm a big sports fan. Comes with the territory. But the performance that the lads have put on in the CHL so far has been fantastic, and they deserve they deserve all the plaudits that have been coming to him so far.
Yeah,
I do. Touching on that, actually, I do think that if we don't make it from this position that we're in, I do feel like I'll be disappointed. But yeah. I do think on the back of it, when we look back at this next season or, in years down the line, we'll realise just quite how special it was. It will sting if we don't make it in the position that we're in. It will.
But it shouldn't take away from the achievement.
Yeah, exactly that. It really shouldn't take the shine away from what has been, as Ant said, a phenomenal performance in the Champions Hockey League.
Yeah. And if nothing else, the Panthers winning the Continental Cup last year and doing so well in the Champions Hockey League this year, it certainly put British ice hockey firmly on the map. So I absolutely agree with what everyone was saying about being fiercely disappointed if we don't quite get ourselves over the line from this group. But I think time will show the achievement for what it is, and we can all look back at those victories against Burnham Mountfield with just a massive sense of pride and satisfaction from what the entire team achieved.
And good luck Cardiff too.
Yes,
good luck Cardiff.
They're playing 2 games against 2 teams they've not played yet.
They're playing Vaxo. I think they've got a double header against Vaxo Lakers, so they're playing Vaxo. I think it's at home tomorrow, and then in Sweden next week, like we're in Finland next week. So yes, very best of luck to them as well. Hope they can get something out of those games. Just a couple of things to mention about tomorrow. The Neil Black question and answer session in Saltbox, which is postponed from last week, that will be taking place at 5:15 in Saltbox, so don't miss that if you want to ask the Panthers chairman a question. Also, there is an appeal for help the victims of Hurricane Maria, which recently devastated the Caribbean, Dominica in particular. There's a appeal gone out from the Panthers. There's collection points at the fitness club at Rocco, but also there'll be collection points outside the security cordons at the NIC tomorrow. They're looking for things such as nappies, tin food, tarpaulins, tents, pasta, rice, sleeping bags, porridge oats, tools, deodorant, baby items, medical supplies. All donations that you take will go directly to Dominica to help the relief effort. So please, if you can, take a couple of items down with you and leave them at the collection points and help people in the island of Dominica who have recently been devastated by an awful natural disaster. Okay, after Tuesday, just the one game at the weekend on Saturday, and it's against our old friends from up the M1, the Sheffield Steelers, in a Challenge Cup game. If you remember, the game in Sheffield finished with a 6-5 Steelers victory. Levi Nelson with a goal in the very last second after Panthers had led 3-0 in the first period. Couple of things about this game. Juha Koivisto has left Sheffield yesterday to take a position in the Finnish Liga, which I don't suppose you can blame him for, to be honest. They are expected to make a new signing. Hints have been put out by the Steelers official Twitter. Nothing as yet from them. I was hoping that we might see something before the end of the show, but nothing there at the moment. So, guys, what are we expecting from this game? We talked earlier about Sam Gospel not starting on Saturday's game. Do you think he might get the nod in this one?
I don't think he will. It's our only game of the weekend again, isn't it? So,
yeah.
I think we're starting with Garnett. I expect us to batter them, not on the scoreboard physically, but I'll wake up and it'll probably be one of our many games against them this season.
Well, this is another thing from Paul Thompson's interview where he says that we've got players banged up, they've got players playing injured, they need to leave some players out to heal. Is it a case, Andy, of just going out there and hitting them hard?
Yeah, I don't change our game plan as such. I'm sure that there'll be plenty of players that have played in rivalries and derby days, and obviously we've had our first taste of the Panthers Sheffield games already this season with the away match. So I don't think we'll change too much of how we will be anticipating that we want to play. I think we'll be pretty fast paced. I think we'll try to be a bit more solid in defence, obviously, than we were in the last game. But it should be an all right game at the very least. They usually are. It's been a long time. I say it's been a long time. Probably the last I saw us play Sheffield in that home quarter final was pretty exciting, but obviously, the second leg didn't quite go to plan, shall we say? But it's been a while since we've had a real sort of exciting humdinger. Hopefully we get it. With regards to Garnett in net, I think a lot will depend on tomorrow. I think if we get spanked tomorrow, I think Gospel plays. I think it gives Garnett time to recuperate, ready for the daunting task of playing in Finland and needing a result. I think if we win tomorrow by any means, then I think realistically we'd probably leave him in and ride him while he's hot. So I think a lot of who starts in net on Saturday will perhaps depend on quite what happens tomorrow night.
Okay. Adam, your thoughts?
Well, I think that probably the most satisfying thing for me as a fan will be to see us, beat Sheffield on the scoreboard, and quite convincingly as well. If Thompson wants to take players out of the lineup, it gives us a chance to, be a bit more convincing. I think that Andy's right. We've got to use the speed that we've got on our forward lines. We've got physicality as well, but I wouldn't really expect us to, change the sort of philosophy of how we play and go around and start banging everything in sight against the boards because, with penalties that way, and that could hurt us. So I think we need to play a smart game on Saturday. Much will depend on how much tomorrow night takes out of us, although you'd hope that the players would get decent levels of energy back into their legs by the time Sheffield come to town on Saturday. But yeah, I think that we should be looking to beat Sheffield at home on Saturday. We want to probably avenge what happened up in Sheffield a couple of weeks ago. Because I'm sure the players were pretty cheesed off about losing a goal right on the buzzer. So there's a bit of motivation for the boys straight away, and I hope that we can skate to a fairly convincing victory against Sheffield.
Okay, so that is a 7 p.m. face-off at the NIC, and tickets still available for that one, although I'm sure they will run out very fast throughout the week, as they always do for games against the Steelers. Okay, so we've been going for nearly 90 minutes, so I think it's a good time to leave it there. Just a reminder that Ask TCW returns this week, not on Wednesday, but on Thursday this week. So Ask TCW on Thursday if you want to get questions in, and we've had a couple already. The easiest way is via Twitter, @CatsWhiskersTV. Use the hashtag AskTCW. Any hockey-related questions that you've got. You can also leave questions on our dedicated thread on the Cage Forum via email at tcwonlinetv@gmail.com, or the TCW page on Facebook. Drop us a message or just drop a post on the page. It would be great to get your hockey-related questions in for us to discuss on Thursday night. However, that ends it for this mammoth show. Once again, many, many thanks to the Panthers and the players for talking to us and providing so many great interviews for us for this show. It's very much appreciated. Thank you very much to you for listening, and thank you very much to Andy Haywood.
Anytime.
Antoine Marie-Jeanne.
Not a problem. Take care.
And Adam Reddish.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, and thank you once again. We will see you on Thursday for Ask TCW, but until then, bye-bye.